Sgt Doaty rock on the track.
Welcome to Immerse Podcast 360. I'm your host, Basrtop. We want to thank you for tuning in. No matter where you are in this metaverse world, we're going to continue to bring you the best quality content and formula that we know how. We want to thank you for all the likes and shares and subscriptions on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter thus far. We want to tell you we have a great show. It's Community Garden. We're reaching outside of our community to pick one of our own flowers down in the Big Easy. Once again, this is being brought to you by Brishelle Family Insurance Agency and Involve Social and Civic Club, where we understand that social and civic needs are love, learn, live, and laugh. As said before, we have a special guest. He's a legend from Scrap City when it came to playing football, but he went on to the National Guard, and now he's a NOPD for the Big Easy in New Orleans. It's none other. He was born on Jackson Street in Basrtop, Louisiana. It's Mr. James Doaty Sr. Let me give y'all a background on Mr. Doaty. Mr. Doaty is a graduate of Basrtop High class of 96. He was an all-district and all-state football player. He was an all-district basketball player. He is the oldest of three siblings. He is the big brother of the late legend Maurice Doaty and the big brother Tiffany Doaty. He has two children, James Doaty III and Megan Doaty. He's 22 years, Louisiana Army National Guard, 2 combat tours in Afghanistan where he retired sergeant in 2019. He's now the recruit commander with the New Orleans Police Department where he's a rank of sergeant. His duties include new recruit trainer, lateral office training, and in-service training. And Mr. Doaty, check this, 14 years with the NOPD, 22 years total with law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we're patrolling the Big Easy tonight with Mr. James Doaty. Doaty, how you doing today, bro?
I'm good there, Mr. Odom. Let me make a correction. I'm James Doaty Jr. My daddy is senior, so let me correct you on that.
Wait, you gonna correct me on that? Well, we know
Yes,
we got the third, but in my eyes, you will always be a senior now because you got somebody behind you. But Doaty, I'm glad to have you on here, big dog. Everybody enthused to hear from Doaty, man. We don't get to see you a lot, and bro, I'm just thrilled and happy that you could stop through and share some insight with the Immerse 360 family. Tell the people a little bit about.
Man, appreciate it.
Already, tell the people a little bit about Sergeant James Doaty coming up in big old Scrap City.
Well, came up in Scrap City. I grew up on Jackson Street. Played in Jackson Clark, played football around the areas in the graveyard, the middle school back there. Grew up with a bunch of great guys. Went on to high school, played ball there. Went on to college for a little bit at Grambling State University, and I moved on to Southern University of New Orleans. And I joined law enforcement, and I've been with that ever since. And also did, like you just said earlier, I did 22 years in the Louisiana National Guard with the 2 combat tours and retired in 2019. So, but Scrap City molded me, and Scrap City will always be my home.
Right. We know that you are actually, you're out in the field now. You're taking our time. I don't know if the interview people may get cut off because he's actually on duty now. That's why we said we patrolling the Big Easy. But Doaty, let's have a flashback, bro. We know you're the big brother of the late Coach Maurice Doaty. Kind of share with the people about you being an athlete and coming up through Basrtop High School.
Well, me being an athlete was probably one of the greatest time periods of my life. I came up with a bunch of brothers, went to war together, you with yourself included. But coming up in Basrtop High School, I played under Coach Bob Curlin in basketball, played under Rick Hudson, Coach Trimble, all those great coaches that molded myself and including you and others. And it was a great time period. Also, I was able and fortunate enough to play with my little brother for one season, my senior year at the school, and we was opposite each other. He was on one end, and I was on the other end, and then they moved us to linebacker, so we both played kind of right next to each other, and that was a great time period. Looking back, I didn't appreciate it then, but I definitely appreciated it now. But sports in Basrtop was a way of life for me, and as well as my brother and other family members. And I appreciate everything that it done for me. It really helped mold me into what I am today.
Right, and you just being modest with the people right now, but people, if y'all think Maurice was something, for y'all that didn't get a chance to see Big Brother Doaty play, he was the real deal. Doaty, kind of share with the people about your experience. When we came along, we wanted to win this program, but kind of share with the people how it was playing 5A football back then.
Back then, it was really tough with us playing 5A football. Just like you said, we weren't the winningest program. However, we always had talent. We always had talent. And for whatever reason, we just could not get it together as a team. But playing 5A football with Rustin Neville, Wastall, those guys, it was very physical. Every week, it was a physical game. Uh, you know, sometimes we won, sometimes we didn't, but I don't think we ever gave up. And it just was fun, and it was hard nosed football, smash mouth football. It was really great times back then. Looking back, I really appreciate everything that we went through as a team and as brothers. Even though we didn't win a lot, that brought us together. And I look back at those times, and I think those were great times for us. But smash mouth football was 5A football back in the 90s for us.
Right, and see, the people don't know, it's the legacy behind the Doaty family. Your Uncle Don was outstanding at Mississippi Valley State, played with Jerry Rice. Some is debate that he was better than Jerry. That's debatable, but, just share with the people, Doaty, some of your fond memories after high school, going on to college and on to the services.
Well, a lot of people may not know this, but I was recruited. I was highly recruited. Really, I wouldn't say I was recruited by Grambling. So after high school, I guess I was kind of lost there. And I took a year off. And once I finally went to Grambling in 97, I went at it with the intentions on playing football. But when I got on campus and I realized, hey, I got all this freedom, and I kind of lost my desire to play football. And I just became a regular student. And that's when I joined the military in 1997 while at Grambling, because I needed a way to pay for my tuition while I was there. And that's why I joined the military back then.
Right. Now, you went off to the military and you served quite a bit of time. We're going to take an intermission, and we're going to come back, Brother Doaty, and then we're going to jump into your servitude for this country, and we're going to come on down to how you still serving and how the people love you down the Big Easy. Hey, we here with the sergeant. It's James Doaty. I'm going to say senior. We'll be right back after this intermission. Welcome back. Welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Stepping Stones LLC of Jonesboro, Louisiana. We're still in here with Sergeant James Doaty of the New Orleans Police Department patrolling the Big Easy. Doaty, before we left, we talked about you growing up and why you joined the services. Let's share with your experience being in the armed services doing 2 tours.
Well, to be honest with you, my experience was, I experienced a lot of racism in the military. Although it helped me become who I am today, I experienced a lot of racism, a lot of things like that I had to overcome while servicing in the Army. It was hard to report to duty sometimes because of the things I experienced, but nevertheless, I kind of dealt with it and just, got through all that situation. As it relates to the combat tours, I did 2 tours in Afghanistan, one in 2003, and I did one in 2013. And both experiences were a real eye opener. I saw a lot of things over there. I saw real poverty over there. I saw hopelessness, and I saw famine. I saw violence. I saw the end result of violence. So it was a lot of things that I saw over there. Um, it all kind of kept me humbled and grateful to where I was in life and the person that I was and what I had at the time. So it was it was an eye opening experience, I must say.
Right, right. A lot of people kind of wonder whatever happened to you after high school and you left Grambling, but you went on to the service and you did your tours and you continued on with the National Guard. How was that serving during Katrina and the different catastrophic events? How did you play a role in those events?
Well, I definitely was a part of the Katrina event. It was very, to be honest with you, it was more stressful here in Katrina in America than it was in a combat zone in Afghanistan. I saw a lot of bad things in Katrina. Death, destruction, hopelessness from the people here. I saw a lot of people without resources to get out of that situation, and they were stuck, babies and old people, and it was very, very depressing to see that. Coming from a small town in Bastrop, I can understand how people may not have funds to adequately prepare for an event like that. But I can also understand that some people were probably complacent, thinking that the storm would pass over, and when it didn't, it created a lot of problems for everybody. That, to be honest with you, the city is still kind of dealing with to this day. Some of the problems of Katrina, but Katrina, and I dealt with Gustav and a lot of the other hurricanes, and dealt with natural disasters as it relates to forest fires and different things like that. Also, right after Katrina, the city of New Orleans was in a crisis with crime, and I was a part of that, trying to help secure the city so folks can get back and then kind of be safer than it was right after Katrina.
Right, you're down there in that Big Easy, Doty, and we pray for you all the time. Share with the people, like you say, with Katrina, but we patrolling the Big Easy tonight. Uh, Take us on a tour about an average day in Sergeant's life.
Well, I so I work at the training academy, so I'll come down here in the fifth district. That's where I first got my start here at the NOPD. And I come down here and I do overtime to kind of keep my ear abreast to the ground, to kind of see the needs of the people, and I bring that back to the training realm. But right now that I'm actually riding around, an average day where you get a bunch of domestic violence calls, you get a bunch of mental disturbance calls, you have a shooting here and there, mostly burglaries, robberies. You have a vast variety of different things down here. So it's always going to be busy down here because we have a lot of impoverished people. And when you have impoverished people, you have people that have a lot of time on their hands, and a lot of mayhem comes with that in some cases. But um, it's definitely not a Bastrop, but I consider it home because this is where I was bred and buttered down here in this district, and I like to come down here and work. So the average day, to answer your original question, an average day is very busy down here because we get constant calls for help down here.
Right, and I looked at your resume, and you do a lot of the training for new recruits. You teach them not only response and social skills, but you also teach them some tactical mechanics. Kind of share with the people about your duties when it comes to that you have a full day on your plate, sometimes 15, 20 hours. Explain to the people.
So basically, I'm part of a three-team recruit commander system. I teach defensive tactics. I teach vehicle stops, suspicious person stops. I teach active shooter. And I teach, empathy style classes. I teach the recruits how to talk to folk because everybody's not your enemy. Everybody's not trying to hurt you. I teach them constitutional policing, community policing. Uh, I also teach some of the in-service officers defensive tactics, and then once we get the lateral officers in, I'll be teaching them some of our courses that are sanctioned by a department. I'll teach those guys that because the laterals are already certified. They're just coming from another department, and they have to learn the rules and regulations and different things that we sanction here at our department. But I've been doing that, teaching recruits and other officers for about 6 years now. So it's kind of a passion of mine. I enjoy it. I'm always here to try to open people's eyes to, kind of change their thought process. Because keep in mind, when you're dealing with recruits, you're dealing with most of the people that come here are from other states. They've never had a fight. They've never been in any type of confrontation at all. And you have to change their mind from a civilian to a police officer, how a police officer thinks and how that person needs to respond not only to dangerous situations, but situations where it's not so much danger, and maybe you can kind of teach and counsel and maybe give out resources to people in need. So you have to put all that in that person's brain in a short period of time.
Right, and I know it's difficult because we all have mental issues. How do you deal with an officer that you see maybe having a mental breakdown? And we won't also want you to elaborate on with the active shooting, all the shootings going on. How are you guys having a lot of that?
Well, the first question dealing with the mental breakdown, as not only an instructor but a supervisor, it's my duties to kind of recognize that and pull that person in to kind of see if we can get to the root of the problem. Maybe not in front of people, pull them to the side. Kind of be that uncle or big brother type to kind of home in on what is the problem and what we can do to alleviate the problem. That's really one of my main issues as it relates to the active shooter part. We have had a series of active shooter events throughout the country over the last few years. And here, we haven't had one down here specifically, but we like to keep everybody trained in case there is an event. If there is an event, folks know exactly what to do in that type of situation.
Right. And
And that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I remember the time that I was down there with you, and you took me on a tour. Kind of share with the people about how the city is changing with what you was giving me about the gentrification.
We have a lot of gentrification down here. We have a lot of people coming in from out of state and different places, buying up the land that were traditionally for African American families and minority families, and they're buying up the land, and they're kind of moving in and moving those folks out. Um, and it's kind of pushing some folks in areas that traditionally they wouldn't be in, and then that kind of creates some feuds with different people that may be settled in that area, and it's feuding neighborhoods and type things down here. And then that's where the violence comes in because these particular neighborhoods may not like that neighborhood, and then it's some beef, and then the shootings and all of that stuff come in. So the gentrification is playing a big part in my opinion, in some of the violence down here because they moving minorities out and putting them in areas where they're not getting along with other people, and then that's the violent part of it.
You see a lot uh, being down there in the Big Easy. Kind of share with the generation here in Basrtop before we go to another intermission. Share with them about what real poverty and crime actually looks, feels like, and the reality in it versus doing something because you want to and doing it because you got to.
Well, I can say this about the poverty. We have a lot of poverty here. A lot of most of our minority people are impoverished, but the poverty is real poverty. It's real down here. You have kids down here that's in the house with no food, no water. The parents are not around. They're maybe out, using drugs or whatnot, or maybe just up to no good. so to speak. You have a lot of kids down here that's kind of fending for themselves. Growing up in Basrtop, we didn't have that at all. We had neighbors that if you got out of line, they would put some on your butt. And then when your parents got home, they gonna tell them that you're gonna get another whooping. We had respect for our elders. We had respect for one another. And here in this city, a lot of those values that I just mentioned are no longer existent. And that's one of the key contributing factors to the violence that we have here. You don't have respect for others, their property, or yourselves. So we have a lot of kids, between the ages of 12 and 17, that's committing these robberies. They're shooting each other. They're raping people. All that kind of stuff is being committed by our juveniles and our youth. And they don't have any guidance. So that's the things that they do. So a lot of parents out here are not taking responsibilities for their kids' actions because they don't know no better, because they wasn't raised properly, in my opinion. So comparing that to Strop City and hearing some of the violence and different things that we have there, it's kind of seems like, it's turning into a small New Orleans, because, the violence that we have down there is unprecedented. We didn't have that growing up. And when I hear about it in small Basrtop, Louisiana, it really kind of breaks my heart, because I know that you and I, my generation, we didn't have that at all. We had a lot of positive things going on in Basrtop, and they no longer have those things going on. And that's kind of creating the problems that we have.
Right. We're going to take another intermission. But when we come back, Sergeant, we want to talk about some of the most heartbreaking things that you've experienced over your career in police enforcement when we return. When we return, we're still with Sergeant James Doaty, a NOPD, patrolling the Big Easy when we return. Welcome back. We're still here patrolling the Big Easy with Sergeant James Doaty on this segment of Community Garden. This is being brought to you by Northeast Louisiana Counseling of Basrtop, Louisiana. Sergeant Doaty, before we left, we was talking about the poverty and crime of our youth in New Orleans. And I know down there every day could be that day that you see something that's heartbreaking. But up to this point, kind of share with us some of the most heartbreaking things you've seen or you had to do as an officer.
Well, to be honest with you, it was a few things that I remember throughout my career. One of the first things that I saw that was catastrophic was I saw a 4-year-old who was shot during a drive-by shooting down here, and the little girl's intestines was hanging out of her body.
Wow.
I've seen babies killed due to neglect from their mothers. I've seen babies thrown up against the wall and, brain injuries, brain bleeds from the neglect from their mother or abuse from their parents. Probably more so the children being hurt is probably the most catastrophic and most gruesome things that I've seen that's really kind of unforgettable. Now, of course, I've seen people shot and all those type of things, but the children, seeing people hurt the children is probably what really sticks out to me the most as I look back over my career here.
Right, just listening to you in the times I've been on patrol with you riding around, it's kind of like you don't know. It's a mixture of all the mental, the poverty, and just the pressures of the world, that someone would take their baby and sling them up against a brick wall. Is that a recipe for all of that, Sergeant Doaty?
I believe it has to do with upbringing, and I also believe that person's mentality, and sometimes it's drug use. We have a lot of drug use down here, a lot of opioid abuse that could be fueling a lot of these things. But at the end of the day, it's a personal choice that you make to either ingest those drugs or, if you have mental health problems, not seek help, not take your medication if it's prescribed to you. It's a personal choice, in my opinion. But, nevertheless, the children should not be victimized. As a father of two, I can't imagine anybody hurting my kids, or I can't imagine myself doing it. So it really hurts me when I see someone else's innocent kid who can't defend themselves out here hurt as a result of someone high on drugs or alcohol, or just don't care about the well-being of the children. Those things really hurt me the most. So I really that really kind of gets to me when I see that.
Right. Have you ever had to take children from their parents due to the conditions in the home?
No, usually the state comes in and does that. If I have been a part of that, it's just to kind of escort the state in where they actually do that. That's kind of beyond our realm. The state comes in and takes those kids if need be.
That's why. Have you ever had to assist on one of those calls?
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad as you would think. It was just a lot of neglect. It wasn't abuse, just a lot of neglect for the kids. So I've assisted on that, but it wasn't as gruesome as you would think it would be, as what I mentioned earlier.
Right, right. On a brighter note, every time we talk, you take me down that road, and I just be feeling for you, like, but you enjoy doing what you do, and you're very passionate about it. Let's look at when it's all said and done. You almost 30 years in now with military and police enforcement. What are the plans for Sgt Doaty down the future? I know you've been dealing with the death of both your grandmamas and then Maurice, and you've been holding in the road, bro. You had another baby. What's the future looking like?
Well, in actuality, I got about 6 more years left before I'm eligible to retire. The future's looking bright. I have some ideas that I'm thinking about, some things that I want to do for my community in Morehouse Parish, but I don't want to broadcast those things just yet. I don't want to speak on them just yet, but I'm really contemplating on coming back to that area and really kind of doing some things that really would help the community. I think I can really bring some new innovative stuff that will really help the community, but I really can't speak on it just yet. But I got about another 6 years before I'm eligible to retire from this career, and I'll definitely once I'm able to do that, really speak on it. But it's really something that I think can really bring about change if I'm given that opportunity.
Right, and you both definitely needed people like yourself that are starting to come home, but the problem is that we scream here that we won't help, but the thing about it, we willing to accept that help that's being offered, as Rodney Anthony said this past Sunday. But Doaty, you a humble dude, and you always been that way. But just looking through a glass from the outside, looking in, where do you see this Black Lives Matter and all of this camaraderie going on with this? Being in New Orleans, knowing that Black Lives Matter, where do you see this headed to?
Well, if we're not willing to change our thought process, then it's headed to not so positive end. I think us as a community, we just need to kind of change our thought process about certain things. Now, granted, I'm not taking up for the police or anything like that, because I was victimized by law enforcement in my home parish way back in 1992, and I'll forget that experience. But I just think sitting down and understanding that, some police are people. Some people make mistakes, and some people have ill intent as well. We just need to kind of sit down and just have a huge discussion and try to educate everybody involved. And maybe we'll get a better understanding, both law enforcement and the public, to kind of understand how people react to certain things. Everybody's not trying to get you. Everybody's not trying to plant drugs on you. Everybody's not trying to do that. You actually have some people that are passionate about helping folks, and some people that'll give you the shirt off their back if need be. And just have an open mind when it comes to the future of Black Lives Matter, as you just said. So if we can do that as a people, I think it'll end positively. But if not, it won't end positive. It'll just be something that happened, and we just move on to the next thing.
Right, and just being a police officer, you have to get over things real quick, and it's on, like you say, it's on to the next event, and you have to put that behind you. How have you been dealing, death for both of your grandmothers who were dear to you, and then Maurice, when nobody expecting that at all, and you had another child, and you've been holding in the road, bro, and I see your strength. What's been your comfort done, and what's been your strength to hold it in the road, bro?
Well, you're right. Losing both of my grandmothers was really hard because I was very close to both of them, and to see an end of an era. My mother's mother was the last of her siblings, and that generation is no longer here. And to see that, and then here come Maria, my other grandmother, passed 3 months later. It was very tough, and I lost other relatives between that time, but those two were tough. And then here my brother, uh, probably my closest friend. Me and him was very tight. We called each other all the time. He called me. This would be our time of year where we talking football. My brother was about to get back in coaching, and he would often come to me and ask me things, and we would talk, and I would, run stuff off of him. To have him not here is very, very, very tough. I think about him every day. I had the privilege of escorting his daughter. She won the homecoming court slot for her school, and she asked me to come down there and represent her brother, and that was very dear to me. But dealing with the deaths of those great people, I didn't realize how good my brother was and how much everybody loved and respected my brother until he passed. And I kept getting shout outs and things of that nature. The love that they showed my brother was just like unbelievable. To me, he was just growing up. He was just a snot-nosed little annoying kid, that I didn't want around me.
Right,
like,
right.
man, go ahead, you go. But as he aged and I saw my brother mature and become the person that he became, you said earlier that I was a monster on that field. This dude was a monster. This dude was doing things I would have never dreamed of. He was animal out there on the field. And a lot of people don't know it. My brother kind of got tired of football like I did, and he had an opportunity to go to Seattle Seahawks training camp, and he kind of turned it down because he was kind of fed up with football, just like I was on the playing side. So, but dealing with the loss of those people, man, and how do I keep it in the road? I just try to stay positive. I try to be positive for those kids that I got. And I just try to be a positive person in the community if I can. If somebody needs advice and help, I just try to give it to them. Even when I come home and I see somebody that's in need of advice, help, or you need a dollar or two or whatever, if I got it, man, and I'll give it to you. I don't want to see you out here stealing and taking from people. So it's tough, Lee Aubrey, but I try to stay busy. And I keep their legacy alive. I never forget them. I think about them every day. But it's really tough not having those folk here, and especially Maurice, because like we said, he lost him so young, and he was only 41, and it was unexpected, and it was really tough. And I battle with it, and my family battles with it every day.
Right, and we're gonna continue to help his legacy live on. People steady coming up with things to commemorate and remembering by. But before we let you go, because I hear your CB and walkie talkie in the background. Before we let you go, share from the heart, Sergeant James Doaty II. with the city of Basrtop about how you feel about your hometown.
I feel about my hometown. I'm very passionate. I want my hometown to succeed. I'm tired of the crime. I'm tired of the lawlessness down there. I just really want to bring hope and change to the city of Basrtop. I want to bring it back to the golden age, the age that you and I, Leon, grew up in, where you can walk down the street and you can play with a neighbor's kid. Y'all can play ball all day, go home, drink out the water. If you get into a fight with them, y'all back cool the next day. With no way in hell, if I could say that, where we thought of shooting or killing each other. It just wasn't happening. And if we can get Basrtop back to that era, that's going to include trying to bring solicit businesses to that region, get better on education, because the educational system, from what I'm seeing, has kind of went down a lot. And if we can get those things back to a good place, then we could, I should say, make Basrtop better. But we have to start there. And if that starts with the government entities in Basrtop, definitely the business community and parents definitely have to step up and kind of train our children. There's a better way. We don't have to shoot each other. We don't have to fight each other. We don't have to stab each other. We can talk these things out, right? Parents don't have to fight other parents. Parents don't have to go to the school and fight the teachers because they're talking crazy to their children. Let's talk and work on conflict resolution. And I think if we can do that, if we can start at the young age, start young, I think in time we can get Basrtop back to the glory days. But it takes patience, it takes time, it takes a willingness, and it takes resources. And we have to provide those to those kids, to those parents, to whoever is in need, to get our city back to where it once was.
Right. And Sgt Doaty, bro, you know, we clown, we classmates, we teammates, and people don't know we family. That's why we started to show off clowning, and that's what we do. Every time we're around, we clown. But on a serious note, bro, I think about you all the time, and I want you to be easy down in that NOPD, man, because I know it's rough on you patrolling that Big Easy and thinking about getting home to D3 and little Princess Megan, which you tell them Emerse 360 said what's up with her little pretty self. That's a little princess. You take care of Sgt Doaty. Any last words, or you need Emerse to do anything?
No, I don't need anything. I need you to keep doing what you're doing, bro. I've been listening to your podcast. You're really paying homage to our elders and our ancestors, and you're really putting a spotlight on people that's done great work throughout their lives. Any last words? I just want, everybody to just kind of stay safe, stay positive, protect one another, educate one another, take care of your children, and educate them, because at the end of the day, if the children don't see anything, they see you, the parents. They see what you're doing, and they emulate everything that you do. And if you're not out there putting out positive energy, then they're not going to do anything. And you can't blame other people for what we fail to do. And if you need help, just ask for it.
Right. Bro, we appreciate you stopping to and let us patrol the Big Easy with you tonight, man. And, bro, we going to get out of here, but you be safe, man, and we going to talk later and say hello to the family, bro.
Already, Mr. Odom. I'll get at you later on, brother.
All right. Hey, I'm your host, Basrtop. We want to thank you for tuning in. This has been brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic needs of love, learn, live, and laugh. Until next time, y'all get involved. Y'all stay encouraged. And most of all, y'all get immersed. Catch 20 to life over crumbs, cocaine.